Okay then, so we now start our meeting with an opening prayer. And before we have our opening prayer, may I request everyone to please turn on your camera. Thank you, Archie, for responding. Princess, thank you. Okay. Sige. Okay, and because I miss listening to the voice of Neil Inson. May we request Neil to lead us the opening prayer? Neil, please.
In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit, Amen. Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the knowledge you give to us, and to Sir Herbert also to teach us in this afternoon. May you guide us with everything, Lord. Uh, Thank you. In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit, Amen.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you for making yourself available for today's meeting. Though 4:30 to 6 every Friday and Saturday um, has to be solely be spent for this course in assessment of student learning one. Last meeting, we already have started our discussion as regards lesson 3, particularly on writing and assessing learning outcomes. And also last meeting, I think I failed to congratulate two from the class who got the highest score in the midterm examination. Because the one I mentioned yesterday were those who got the highest score, okay, for the whole assessment class. Okay, the two came from the other code, but in this class we have two students who got the highest, or who earned, should I say, who earned the highest score in the prelim examination. So we congratulate Geneva Dangarang. I think he's a returning student uh, who cannot attend our meeting, our video conference, because she's already married and she's now working. It's Geneva Dangarang. Then we also have the other one is Angela Tangan. So these are the students who got the highest score in class. And there are also those followed nearly by, kasi there's only one difference in the score, followed by Erica Silva. And the other one is Aguliana Micaela. Okay? I already have computed your prelim grades. I just have to submit it to the program chair, to Ma'am AJ, for evaluation and for the approval of the academic dean prior to its posting in the grade book of the LMS. So I'll just post your prelim grades in the grade book section of the LMS. So I hope that you will find time later to look at your grade and to reflect on what things should you still have to do to improve your prelim grades. There are those who got below 75, okay, in the prelim grade, but I hope that would not disappoint you to keep going. I hope that will only serve as a reminder for you to do something and to exert or to double your effort, okay, for you to earn at least 85 for midterms, because as I have said, your grade for midterm will certainly be a predictor of your final grade. Okay, and I also hope that you already have started watching the video, watching the online course, the videos in the online course. I think there are already those who already have started watching watching or completing the online course and the worksheets you are required of for this course. So yeah, before I'll share the presentation and before we do the continuation of our discussion, Maybe some of you would like to share a very important learning takeaway from yesterday's discussion. Anyone who would like to provide us a learning insight? Who would like to share a learning insight from yesterday's discussion? So today is October 9. Okay. Yeah, we have Lolita to share, please.
Sir, I can't open my cam at saka gamit ko yung account ni mama.
Okay, sige.
Wait lang. For me, sir, tawag dito, um, tawag dito, learning outcome, sir. Wait lang.
Mm-mm.
For me, sir, in education, learning outcome is a concise statement of what learners should be able to accomplish. Parang pinag-anuhan na natin to lesson, parang introduction po ng lesson 1 to. Tapos inano ko lang kasi parang ganito po yung kahapon, sir. In education, learning outcome is a concise statement of what learners should be able to accomplish at what they should know about and what they should value at the end of the unit of the study, as well as how effectively they should be expected to achieve those results, sir.
Okay, that's good. I think there are two important descriptions of learning outcome provided by Lori, and I think these two words have also been captured during our discussion last meeting. Anyone who would like to identify these two important words being shared by Lori as regards learning outcome? The first word mentioned by Lori um, is a reiteration of what we said, that learning outcomes have to be measurable.
Sir,
Yes, EJ?
sir, I think, ay sir, ano yung tatlong measurable learning outcomes, sir?
No, what I mean, EJ, is
Sir, yun po yung student learning behaviors, appropriate assessment methods, and lastly, the specific student performance criteria for success.
that's right, EJ. EJ is right, but my question was for anyone from you who would like to identify the two important words as shared by Lori that have also been mentioned in our previous discussion. The first word mentioned by Lori describes describes learning outcomes as measurable expectations. Okay? The second word provided by Lori describes learning outcomes as what we intend our learners do. So what are the two words mentioned by Lori? The first word refers to merong dalawang salita na binanggit ni Lori na mukhang natalakay din natin nung nakaraang pagkikita.
Sir, I think I heard the word concise po.
Okay, very good. That's right. That's right, Jamie. The word concise, okay, the word concise explains learning outcomes as measurable. Thank you, Jamie. And the other word? How about the other word?
Precise, sir?
Precise. Lori, did you mention the term precise?
Hindi po, sir.
Archie.
Accomplish, sir.
Accomplish.
Accomplish, sir.
Okay, good. Okay. Very good, Ira and PJ. Okay. Ira and PJ, it's accomplished. Okay. And it's accomplished because we said that learning outcomes are things that we really would like our learners do at the end of the unit of study or at the end of the course. That's right. Okay. Anyway, we now listen to Archie.
Sir, with regards to the lessons that you have uh, uh, yesterday about the learning outcomes, sir. So these outcomes are very significant in every in students perspective, sir, because these outcomes will lead students toward academic experience, sir. And other than that, sir, is the reason why teachers start creating these outcomes is to know what they want to determine uh, to have a better outcomes or a better look on how to achieve these certain um, outcomes, sir.
Yeah, I think the sharing of Archie is actually a good explanation of a good explanation of what Leo Buscalia mentioned. Can you still remember what Leo Buscalia said as shared last meeting? That what did Leo Buscalia said? And the statement of Leo Buscalia is well explained by Archie.
Sir,
Anyone? Uh, Sige, sino ang magsabi ng sinabi ni Leo
sir,
Buscalia? Yes, Ira. Yes, Ira.
Change is the end result of all true learning.
Yeah, that's right. Change is the end result of all true learning. Okay, thank you, Ira, for that. Yeah, that statement, that passage from Leo Buscalia, okay, was well explained by the learning insight of Archie. Okay, may we now listen to PJ?
So, good afternoon, everyone. One thing that I've learned yesterday is that the learning outcomes should be agreed between the teacher and students, but not at all times. We know the fact that some of our students have an advanced knowledge. I mean, they are too advanced when it comes to some topics or lessons, and also the learning outcomes is based on the student perspective. Just like what I've said a while ago, it is not oftentimes with the students po. That would be also.
Okay, that's also that is also one thing that must be noted by us as regards the learning outcomes and learning expectations. That these expectations communicated through learning outcomes have to be agreed by both the teacher and students. But of course, we have to make sure that our learning outcomes are inclusive, our expectations are inclusive. That even the resource learners or the advanced learners can will certainly be able to achieve what we have intended or what we have expected for our students. Thank you, PJ. May we now listen to Norbert.
Uh, Sir, what I have learned from yesterday's discussion is I learned that when we are going to write a learning outcomes, these learning outcomes have to be make use of specific verbs
Mhm.
that would show our students that those activities should be possible achieved or possible demonstrated by them, sir.
Okay, that's also a good addition to our review of the previous lesson, Norbert, because you mentioned of the things that we have to observe when we are to write our learning outcomes. So it was a nice sharing. Lori defined what learning outcomes are. Then the others made mention of how learning outcomes are supposed to be used, and of course, Archie and the other sharers mentioned or shared about the purpose why we have to start drafting or writing our learning outcomes, and uh, and the others also provided the three components as provided by EJ, the three components of learning outcome. So I think we already your classmates who have just shared contributed towards providing a clear summary of yesterday's discussion. And of course, we ended, last meeting we ended discussing about the cognitive, the level, the Bloom's taxonomy of objectives, particularly under the cognitive level. So today, we will continue discussing, these domains of learning because these are very important, especially that your weekly tasks by next week would all be about identifying learning outcomes according to the cognitive domain or according to the levels of the domain being presented. Okay, so allow me to share the presentation. Okay, I think we just discussed about the knowledge level, tama? Knowledge lang tayo last meeting, no? The knowledge
Yes,
level,
yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
particularly, yeah,
Yes, sir.
remembering. Thank you
Yes,
for
sir.
Okay, so I hope that you fully have understood, okay, what remembering is. As we have said, remembering or knowledge is the lowest, okay, is the lowest level of the cognitive level. Okay, it's the lowest level. Knowledge, comprehension, application are under the lower order thinking skills, while analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, okay, are under the higher order thinking skills. Another difference that we have to look into is that in the 1956 Bloom's taxonomy, evaluation was considered the highest level. But in the 21st century teaching and learning, with the coming of the outcomes-based education, synthesis is now the highest level of the cognitive domain. Why? Because we said that in the 21st century, learning is creating. That the things that our students are learning from us should be manifested by them through transferring or through making use of this learning to create something new, to create or to construct something new that could add up to the knowledge, to the building of knowledge based society. Okay, when I say knowledge based society, it's about um, it's about a community that shares new knowledge, that shares new constructs and others. Okay, now we proceed to the second level, and that is comprehension in 1956 and was termed understanding in the 21st century. So when we say comprehension, it's about summarizing and describing main ideas in your own words without necessarily relating it to anything. So it's about how you master. It's about how you have understood, okay, a certain concept, okay, a certain theory, and you are explaining such theory or such concept using your own words or using your own way of explaining things out. So kaya nga 'di ba, the prompts when we do classroom teaching, the prompts that we can make use for us to check students' comprehension or student understanding would be the following here. In your own words, okay, explain photosynthesis. In your own words, explain physical fitness. In your own words, uh, explain explain sociological imagination. In your own words, explain symbolic interactionism and others. What steps are required? Okay, for example, you discuss about scientific method in science, and you ask your learners what are the steps required in doing scientific method, a scientific methodology. If the students could be able to explain the different steps doing scientific methodology, then certainly the student has a clear comprehension as regards the lesson. Describe the kinds of blah, 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 and others. These are all prompts, okay, to check whether our students are comprehending or whether our students are understanding our lesson. Please take note that in the 21st century, particularly in the K to 12 curriculum or in the backwards design curriculum in the Philippine educational system, uh, understanding or comprehension has 6 facets. Okay, 6 facets. Okay, Can you still remember? Are these 6 facets discussed in your other teacher education subjects or professional education subjects? What are the 6 facets of understanding?
Sir,
Yes, please. Who's that?
Ira, sir.
Yeah, Ira. Ira Taguba, right? Okay, yes, Ira. What are the 6 facets of understanding?
Sir, hindi ko alam yung 6, pero yung iba, sir.
What are those? Sige nga, try tingnan natin.
Explain.
Okay,
Explain. Tama, sir? Explain.
Yeah, explain,
Interpret.
interpret, that's good.
Apply.
Okay,
Assess.
assess,
Ay, meron na yung interpret, sir, no? Understand, sir?
okay. Understand is already the broader concept. Okay, sige, that's right. Ira is right when she said that explanation is part of the 6 facets of understanding. Okay, that's the first part actually. That students can be able to explain. The second one is students can be able to interpret. That's right, also Ira. The third one is students can be able to apply. The fourth one is the students considers others' perspective. The fifth one, we have students should be able to empathize. And the last one is students do have self-knowledge as regards something else, as regards a concept or a theory. Now, what is the difference then of application as one of the facets of understanding to that of application as a separate cognitive level? So ano yung pinagkaiba ng dalawa? Please take note that application under understanding will certainly the application under understanding refers to the way students are applying the theory or the set concept, okay, in the actual application of what has been taught. Okay, so for example, application under comprehension is like this. Okay, for example, how to create or craft a basket using using coconut leaves. If a student can be able to create a basket out from the coconut leaves, then that is application. But if a student will make use of the coconut leaves to create, okay, a fruit tray, then that is application under this area. Okay, as a cognitive level. So that's the difference between the two. If there's already application of the skill being learned into a new context, that falls under the transfer or application as a cognitive level. But if the student will just merely do repeat performance of what has clearly been taught to him or her, then that's under the facet of understanding. Okay. Ito, ulitin ko. Merong 6 na mukha ng pag-unawa in the 21st century. Yung una, explanation ng pagpapaliwanag. So, the student should be able to explain the concept. Pangalawa, meron tinatawag na what's interpretation in Filipino? Meron tayong tinatawag na I forgot the Filipino term for interpretation. Okay, interpretation is about putting meaning. Okay, putting meaning into a certain concept or into a certain theory. Okay. The third one is we also have perspective that we have to consider. Okay, apply pala. After interpret is apply. That we can already make use of the concept we have learned into where they are supposed to be used. That is application. And after application is perspective. Ano naman ibig sabihin ng perspective? That we have to consider others' perception about the concept so that we can be able to enrich, okay, our understanding of the said concept. That is perception. Okay. Katulad ng perception ganito. Kapag sinabi ko halimbawa sa inyo na ano ang explain kung ano ang mga bunga ng pagkatuto. Okay, so in-explain mo, di ba? Okay, so that's explanation. But when someone of you can, if someone of you can connect, okay, learning outcomes to a flowering tree or to a tree that bears a fruit, okay, that is under interpretation. Okay, there's already a creative way of explaining things out. Okay, that's interpretation. Ngayon, doon sa application naman is, if a student can provide an example of a learning outcome, then that is application. Then we have perspective. For example, Lori defined a while back what is a learning outcome. Then Archie defined what a learning outcome is. Then all of a sudden, AJ shared a summarized definition combining summarized definition of learning outcome, combining the definition provided by Lori and the definition provided by Archie. Then that is considering others' perspective. Okay? Then after that, we have empathy. Tama? Empathy. Pag sinabi natin empathy is, parang you cannot just judge a certain concept without understanding the context why such concept is being explained, why such concept is being defined. Okay, for example, kailangan ko unawain ang pinanggagalingan ng mga estudyante kung paano nila binibigyang kahulugan o katuturan ang mga bunga ng pagkatuto. At titignan ko din kung paano naman binibigyang katuturan ng mga guro ang learning outcomes, because learning outcomes might be defined differently by students and may also be defined differently by teachers, and even may also be defined differently by school administrators or school leaders. That is empathy. And the last one is we have self-knowledge. Now, out from the explanation, out from how others interpret it, out from the perspective of others, out from its application on others, what now is my understanding of learning outcome? That is what we mean by self-knowledge. Yung sarili mo ng pagpapaliwanag o sarili mo ng pagbibigay katuturan ng nasabing konsepto gamit yung pagpapaliwanag ng iba, pagbibigay katuturan ng iba o interpretation, gamit nung paglalapat o application, gamit yung perspektibo ng iba, gamit yung empatya para maunawaan mo ang pinanggagalingan ng iba sa pagbibigay katuturan ng nasabing konsepto, and others. So those are the 6 facets of understanding under comprehension. Okay. For example, okay, these are the different verbs under comprehension. Associate. Okay. Associate is to link. Okay. Classify, convert, describe, differentiate, discuss, distinguish, estimate, explain, interpret, match, paraphrase, predict, recognize, select, summarize, and translate. So these are under the comprehension level. Now we proceed to application. What about application? Application is about transferring, apply or transfer learning to own life or to a context different than one in which it was learned. Our example a while ago is this, that for example, you were taught of creating a basket out from coconut leaves. And if you could be able to create a basket out of coconut leaves, then that is application under comprehension. But if you are to create a fruit tray using the skills you have learned, okay, in the application under comprehension, then that falls under the application level or transferring level of cognitive level. So we have, for example, give an example that has affected you. If alive today, what do you think we would do about? Okay, so these are the prompts when you are to look into the application skill of your students or transfer skills of your learners. So action verbs: apply, build, calculate, classify, compare, complete, contrast, construct, demonstrate, illustrate, modify, operate, practice, relate, support, report, solve, and use. Okay, so these are the 3 of these are under the lower order thinking skills. Now we proceed to analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, or what we call as the higher order thinking skills. When we say analysis, it's about breaking down big concepts into pieces so that we can be able to look at each part. And it's through our understanding of each part of such big concept of such a broad concept that we can be able to fully understand its meaning. Okay? And look into the relationships of these parts. Okay? For example, we can only understand what a flower is if we are to examine each of its parts. Okay? So ganito pala ang flower. So for example, ang gumamela, okay, that's a perfect flower as an example to understand the different parts. Stamen, ano pa yung mga pistil, ano pa yung mga petals and sepals and others. So we can only understand how a flower works if we are to examine each of its parts. Okay? In doing analysis, for example, in the actual classroom teaching and learning, example of prompts that we can use are the following here below. What factors distinguish blah, blah, blah? In what ways? How would life be different if in case that, for example, how would life be different in the Philippines if the said country has not been colonized by Spain? Okay? So many days asking, how do you call that in research? Hypothetical questions. Okay, asking hypothetical questions is one way of promoting the analytic skills of our learners. Okay, what if USA, okay, did not colonize the country? What if Charles Darwin, okay, did not propose the theory of evolution? What if there would be no records of the life of Jesus? Okay? What ifing or asking hypothetical questions, okay, is a good practice when we would like to develop our students' analytical skills. Okay? Verbs under this are the following: analyze, categorize, compose, debate, detect, diagram, differentiate, distinguish, group, infer, investigate, prioritize, relate, research, separate, sort, transform. So these are under the analysis level. Now, ang kabaliktaran naman ng analysis ay tinatawag nating synthesis. This is creating. Creating something new by combining parts to form a unique solution to a problem. Okay, so ano yung pinagkaiba niya ngayon doon sa application under the facet of understanding, application under cognitive level, and now the creating. Okay, ano yung pinagkaiba niya? Creating is already creating is what we mean by introducing innovative ideas. Okay, there's already the inclusion of innovative skills because you are to propose something new out from what you have understood. The application here, the transferring, it's not something new, but only that you only made use of the skill you have learned in the application level under 6 facets of understanding into a new context. But synthesis is already about introducing an innovative idea, introducing a new knowledge, okay, out from what you have understood in class. Okay, so for example, you will ask your students, how can you put these ideas into action? After discussing, for example, after discussing about the causes and effects of global warming, okay, and asking students how they can put these ideas into action now. After learning about the causes and effects of global warming, what now? What can you do now? What do you think you would be doing now, and others? Asking them to predict is also one way of promoting the creating skills of our students. When these concepts are linked, I see that, okay, pag pinagsama-sama ko yung mga sinasabi ng classmates ko, ito ang aking pag-uunawa ngayon. Ito ngayon yung pwede kong maiambag na bagong kaalaman gamit yung mga naibahagi ng aking mga kamag-aral. That is synthesis or creating. And the last one is evaluation or judging. It's about expressing your opinion, judge or value based on expressed criteria, ideas, or method. So it's already about looking at things intently, okay, evaluating things out, okay, before you will express your opinion as regards it. Okay? In your opinion, okay, sa inyong pananaw, ang kasalanan ba ng ama ay kasalanan din ng anak? Okay? Dahil marami na nagpo-post sa kanilang mga political views, okay, about the coming elections 2022. Okay? Choose between, defend your answer. Okay? That is under evaluation. Action verbs under this: accept, appraise, assess, compare and contrast, critique, determine, evaluate, facilitate, grade, judge, justify. We have measure, rank, recommend, reject, select, and test. These are the action verbs under evaluation level or evaluation stage. Okay, so this is the Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives, particularly under the cognitive level of learning or cognitive domain of learning. Okay, sige. We stop sharing and we have we open the floor for the opportunity for you to ask questions. Okay, sige. May mga tanong. And we have Micaela. Okay, Micaela, please. No, sorry, not Micaela. We have Jella first. Then after Jella is Micaela. Then Jire, then Casey. We listen to Jella.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
Sir, I think we failed to notice the active verbs involved under synthesis and evaluation.
Yes. Any observation?
Sir, I observed that active verb compare is also in evaluation. I think compare is used nearly, sir, in the synthesis. On the other hand, compare and contrast go together at the same time.
That's right.
That is under evaluation, sir.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because when you are just going to compare, okay, that would mean that you will just be looking into the similarities, okay, of concepts, for example. Okay, but when you do comparing, but at the same time, you're also looking at the differences of concepts, you're doing already an evaluation. Okay? Diba? For example, when you do evaluation, you usually have to look into the cons and pros, okay, of a certain issue, for example. Okay? For example, kapag compare under evaluation, it has to be inseparable with contrast. Laging merong compare and contrast. So if you are to make use of both verb na compare and contrast in your learning outcome, that is automatically under evaluation. But if your activity would just ask them to compare, okay, certain concepts, then that is under synthesis. I think that's a good observation, Jella. Okay, thank you for letting us, for bringing that into our attention. Okay, we listen now to Micaela.
Sir, I only have questions po regarding po dito sa my verbs po. Is there possibilities po ba na we can repeat to use one verb into another level po? For example po, dun sa may analysis po, we have po here the research po. Di ba po kasi pag-research po is nakakapag-innovate na din po tayo ng new ideas which is under na din po kasi siya sa may synthesis, sir.
Synthesis. Okay, sige. Yung sa synthesis, nilagay natin yung, ano yun? Ano nilagay natin sa synthesis?
Yung sa research.
Research, okay. Sa synthesis, we have research under analysis, tama? Okay. Then, under synthesis, we have?
Sir, my point po is pwede din po ba siyang gamitin under sa synthesis po, yung verb na research?
I know. Ang research kasi is, Micaela, research as an action verb under analysis, okay, would merely mean you are to understand. Diba? When you do research, you're going to understand a certain phenomena. And you can only understand a certain phenomena if you are going to look at the details. And looking at the details would entail researching. Okay? Kaya under analysis siya. But any result, okay, any result of researches, okay, will be part of the synthesis. For example, sabihin mo na uh, papare-analyze mo, for example, ang waste management. Okay? Research, or conduct a research, or research, the reason, research, how should we term it? Research ways on how to manage, research interventions, should I say, interventions on how to manage wastes, for example. Okay, so that is under analysis. Okay, waste management, you look into interventions on how to do waste management and others, that's research. But kapag sinabi mo naman na synthesis, sabihin mo na propose or create, okay? Propose or create solutions to address waste mismanagement as a result of conducted researches, then that will fall under synthesis. Okay? The product of research will be part of creating, but the research as a verb will be part of analysis. Okay? Kasi there are two things that we have to consider. Research as a verb and research as a noun. Research as a noun, okay, research as a noun, and the result of that, and the result of research as a noun, or even the result of research as a verb, may fall under synthesis because you are creating or introducing new knowledge out from the result of the research, tama? But the verb research will always fall under analysis. Okay? Kumbaga, ang pananaliksik ay pamamaraan para maunawaan mo ang isang konsepto o ang isang teorya. Pero ang resulta ng pananaliksik, ano ngayon ang kinahihinatnan ng pananaliksik, ay magiging bahagi ng synthesis or creating. Okay, Micaela?
Thank you po, sir.
Okay, good. That's also a good question for clarity. Okay, any more? We have Jire. Yes, Jire?
Sir, I just would like to share some takeaways po.
Yes, thank you, Jire.
I've learned that when we say comprehension, it is about summarizing and describing main ideas in own words without needing to relate it to anything. For example, in your own words, explain life cycle. In relation to our previous discussion in prelims, we also have made mention regarding the term understanding. There are 6 facets of understanding, which are explanation, interpretation, application, perspective, empathy, and self-knowledge po.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, thank you for thank you for reviewing us as regards those important concepts, Jire. Now we listen to Carino, Casey.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I'd like also to share the 6 facets of understanding under the comprehension of the cognitive level. But since Jerry mentioned all of them, I just like to add my insights also. So when we say a student can explain, means that he can be able to as simply as explain the concepts being taught. And when we say interpretation, this has something to do in putting meaning into a certain concept. And then apply means to make use of the concept learned. And then can have a perspective means to consider other perception about the concept to enrich your understanding. And when we say to empathize, to understand the context why such concepts are given or defined. And lastly, the self-knowledge. This is now the final level under the facets of understanding. And this is now from the discussion a while ago, I learned that this is now the application of all the aforementioned facets. And I learned that the word understanding has many meanings and thus cannot be used to to form a learning outcome because, as I said, it has many meanings.
Yeah, that's a beautiful sharing, Casey, and a beautiful reminder also that a beautiful reminder or a beautiful way of saying of reasoning out why understand as a verb should not be used in writing our learning outcomes because it may mean many things. Thank you, Casey, and you have clearly defined the different facets of understanding. Now we listen to the last one, Shakina.
Sir, napansin ko lang po dun sa application as one of the categories of cognitive domain ay may pagkakapareho siya sa authentic assessment, which
Yeah.
is authentic assessment demonstrate um, the students learning in the real world context.
Yeah,
Parang
that's right.
ganun
And I
sa
think Shakina, yeah, that's right, Shakina. And I think Shakina is advanced because I think you already have read the text script, no, in the LMS as regards authentic assessment. Yeah, that's right. Application is about contexts. And when we consider a certain context in doing things out in class, then that would mean also that we are making use of authentic assessment. Anyway, there will be a separate discussion as regards authentic assessments later. Thank you, Shakina. Now we continue our discussion. We now proceed to um, the affective domain. Is it affective? Yeah, psychomotor, should I say. We now proceed to the psychomotor domain. Okay. So this table will sum up, okay, the different levels of the psychomotor domain. The descriptors of major, the first column are the descriptors of major categories in the psychomotor domain. The second column are examples of activity or demonstration and evidence to be measured using the said level or the said level. And the last one, the verbs that we can make use, okay, in stating, not objectives, but stating our outcomes. Okay, so now the first level, the lowest level under psychomotor domain is imitation. Okay, early stages in learning a complex skill overtly after the individual has indicated a readiness to take a particular type of action. Imitation includes repeating, just merely repeating an act that has been demonstrated or explained. And it includes trial and error until an appropriate response is achieved. Observing and patterning behavior after someone else, performance may be of low quality. That's why it's the lowest form or lowest level of psychomotor domain, because if you are just going to imitate what has been demonstrated, then that's under imitation. Okay, kids usually learn, the first thing that kids are doing to learn is for them to imitate what is being shown by an adult or by a teacher. Okay, that's imitation in psychomotor domain. For example, watch teacher or trainer and repeat action, process, or activity. For example, if you will ask a student or a kid to imitate or to copy a drawing, okay, then that is merely an imitation level. So for example, okay, you show to a student on how to do sit up, and you ask that person to copy what you are doing, then that is under imitation. Okay? And verbs under this level are the following. Ito, adhere, begin, bend, assemble, attempt, carry out, copy, calibrate, construct, dissect, duplicate, follow, mimic, move, practice, proceed, repeat, replicate, reproduce, respond, organize, sketch, start, try, then volunteer. Okay? So that is imitation, the lowest level under psychomotor domain. Now, after imitating, okay, the second level now is manipulation. How about manipulation? Individual continues to practice a particular skill or sequence until it becomes habitual and the action can be performed with some confidence and proficiency. Okay, the response is more complex than at the previous level, which is imitation, but the learner still isn't sure of he or herself being able to perform certain actions by following instructions and practicing. Okay, so no need for you to, for example, after showing, okay, a learner on how to do sit-up, okay, how to do sit-up, then the learner imitated what you have shown, then that is imitation. But if the student can already do it alone through following a certain instruction or through practice, then that is already manipulation. Okay? So no need for a demonstration prior doing the set task. But out from the instructions given, you can already do what is expected of you. Then that is manipulation. Carry out tasks from written or verbal instruction. No need for demonstration. Example, creating work on one's own after taking lessons or reading about it. For example, in our lesson, writing learning outcome. Okay, that's psychomotor still. Writing learning outcomes. If I will provide you, okay, a learning outcome, for example, design a learning plan, okay, design a learning plan to demonstrate one's understanding of, okay, one's understanding of pedagogy, okay? Design a learning plan to demonstrate one's understanding of pedagogy, for example. So that is example of learning outcome. But if I would just ask you to replace, okay, you replace the verb, you replace the topic, and you replace the purpose, okay, then that is merely imitation. Okay. For example, sabi ko sa inyo na, okay, this is an example. Design a learning plan to demonstrate one's understanding of pedagogy. Okay, tapos sabihin ko, palitan lang ninyo yung mga gusto kong palitan ninyo. Palitan ang design, palitan yung student behavior, and of course, palitan lang ang purpose. Tapos sabihin naman ng iba sa inyo, ay sir, pwede po bang create a learning plan to demonstrate or to show one's understanding of instructional strategies. That's correct. And that is merely an imitation. Because you just imitated the format, you just have looked into other synonyms of the word, then that is imitation. But after teaching, for example, after teaching you on the components, as regards the components of learning outcome, that it has to have a student behavior, it has to have a assessment method, it has to have a like this and like that. Then after clearly understanding that formula, kaya mo nang gumawa. That is already under manipulation. So verbs under this are acquire, assemble, build, complete, conduct, do, execute, grasp, handle, implement, improve, maintain, make, manipulate, operate, pace, perform, produce, progress, recreate, and use. These are example verbs. Okay, now, dadako tayo sa mas mataas na level. So after imitation, we have manipulation, and the third is precision. Precision is a skill has been attained. So kayang-kaya mo na siyang gawin. Proficiency is indicated by a quick, smooth, accurate performance, requiring a minimum of energy. The overt response is complex and performed without hesitation. Refining, becoming more exact, few errors are apparent. If you can already create or write learning outcomes, okay, with few errors, then that would mean that you already reached the third level, which is precision. Okay? So hindi mo na kailangan ng written instruction, ng verbal instruction to write a sample learning outcome. Then that is under precision. Okay? So the same din siya, yung mga verbs niya, the same with imitation, the same with manipulation, only that if there's already a precise or few error or almost perfect or near to perfect, okay, output, then that is under precision. Okay? For example, nilagay mo diyan na ano na na right or accomplished or complete sorry. Sabi mo dyan, accomplished. So, gamitin natin yung word na right ulit. Right, 5 learning outcomes targeting, right 5 learning outcomes targeting each of the levels of the psychomotor domain. So, kung kayang-kaya mo na lahat, distinguish mo lahat, then that's already precision. And the fourth level is articulation. What about articulation? Involve an even higher level of precision. The skills are well developed that the individual can modify movement patterns to fit special requirements or to meet a problem situation, coordinating a series of actions, achieving harmony and internal consistency. So for example, producing a video that involves music, drama, color, and sound. So magbago tayo ng example para klaro, para hanggang articulation tayo. Okay. For example, splitting, pag-split sa PE. Dinemonstrate mo kung paano mag-split, ginaya ng estudyante. That is, you answer me, that is?
Imitation.
Ngayon, binigyan mo ng verbal instructions si estudyante, sinabi mo na okay, do splitting. At ginawa niya without you demonstrating. That is?
Manipulation.
Manipulation, sir.
Ngayon, si estudyante, kaya niya mag-split kahit na, parang madali na lang sa kanyang pag-split, kahit na wala ng instruction, kahit wala ng written instruction or verbal instruction. What is that?
Precision.
That is precision. Ngayon, ang ginawa ngayon ng bata, nag-split siya, pero kasama na yung pag-split dun sa sinasayaw niya. That is?
Articulation.
So, yung split, ginawa ng parte ng choreography niya, naging parte na ng kanyang dance routine and others, then that's already articulation. Okay? And the last level is naturalization. So wala na, natural na lang sa kanya na ginagawa yung bagay na yun kasi kayang-kaya niya na. Okay? So that is naturalization. Okay? Ngayon, meron ba kayong skill, for example, na na-reach na ninyo yung naturalization? Do you have any skill that you already have reached the highest level of the psychomotor domain, which is naturalization? Meron ba? Who are the PE majors here? Lalo PE puro psychomotor ito. PE majors. EJ.
Meron naman, sir.
Is EJ PE major English?
PE, sir.
Sino pa? O, sige. Magbigay kayo ng halimbawa ng ng isang skill na pwede nyong gawa ng learning outcome from imitation up to naturalization.
Erika, alam mo yung phases of exercise, be?
Yung yung associate.
Yung cognitive.
Oo,
Yung association.
Ganun.
Parang ganun lang din.
Parang ganun siya.
Oo. Ikaw na, be?
Hindi ka na masyadong matanda.
Sige, si Erika daw.
Cognitive, associative, pati autonomous, be. Go!
Ay, oo, sir. Ano ulit yung Chi?
Oo, yung tatlo.
Sir, yung tatlo
Cognitive,
kasi yung cognitive, sir, is parang under siya dun sa may imitation, sir, kasi parang nasa utak pa lang ng student, sir, yung parang hindi niya pa masyadong alam, ganun, sir. Kailangan niya pa ng guidance ng
meron
parang
pa.
teacher, ganun, sir. Pati yung...
Tapos yung...
Tapos?
And then...
Associative ba yung isa?
Tapos kapag sa associative ba yun? Yung isa, sir,
Ayun,
yung second stage
True.
is parang mag-under na siya
Under
sa...
Manipulation.
Oo, sir, manipulation na yun. Nakakaya niya, sir, pero
hindi pa fully
With the guidance.
Nagkakamali pa siya.
Nagkakaroon pa siya ng
error.
Yung sa
Autonomous, sir, yun na yung kaya niya nang gawin kahit walang guidance. Natural na sa kanya. Proficient na siya.
Realization na siya.
Hindi ba si psychomotor dapat mag-fall lang siya, starting lang siya doon sa associative, hindi sa cognitive? Kasi sa imitation, there's already actual doing of the task. Tama, but in the cognitive level that you are referring to is only about the knowledge level of knowing how to do things, but no actual doing of the thing or the skill. Ha?
Super ulit, sir?
Yung sabi niyo ng cognitive. Define niyo ulit yung cognitive. Anong tawag diyan sa cognitive, associative, and the other one is? What's the other one?
3 stages.
Ano, Vernel?
Cognitive, associative, and autonomous, sir. Tatlo.
And?
Autonomous. Sir.
Autonomous.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so cognitive, associative, and autonomous. So,
So,
sabi
it's stages of learning yung tawag dun sa
okay, 3 stages of
Sir,
learning.
kumbaga sir, sa una dun sa cognitive po sir is parang magi-start pa lang siya. Parang kumbaga is kailangan yun po yung start na kailangan po ng guidance ng iba po para matuto siya.
Cognitive is kaalaman lamang.
Yes, sir.
Oo, pero
yes.
The guidance of others, sir.
Ibig sabihin na nagagawa na nila, tama?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so ibig sabihin, hindi siya pwedeng kumpara sa imitation. Kasi sa imitation, there's already the doing. Only that, it has to be demonstrated first.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so magkaiba siya. Okay, nilinawin natin iyon. We cannot associate, we cannot compare cognitive to that of imitation. Because cognitive is merely about knowing something, but it does not mean doing something.
Sir.
Okay? Imitation is already doing something. Only that, it has to be demonstrated first prior to a return demonstration by the student. Whether there are many errors or not, as long as the student can imitate it with few errors, with many errors, there's imitation. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Playing basketball. Itinuro ni EJ kung paano i-dribble ang bola at ang estudyante niya si Vernel. Ginaya ni Vernel kung paano i-dribble ang bola. Hindi perfect pero nagaya ni Vernel. That is
Imitation.
Imitation.
Okay, good. It's imitation. Ngayon, okay, sinabi ni EJ as a teacher na okay, hindi niya pinapakita kung paano mag-dribble ng bola, pero sinabi ni EJ na, okay, you take the ball, okay, then, ano instruction niya sa dribbling? EJ, ano instruction dapat sa dribbling?
Sir?
Ano instruction mo sa dribbling? Pag ikaw magturo ng dribbling, paano mo i-instruct si Vernel para ma-dribble ang bola?
Sir, ituturo ko sa kanya, sir, kung paano, ide-demo ko sa kanya, sir, kung paano gawin yung
Tapos na yung demo, di ba? Tapos na yung demo, na-demo mo na.
Yes,
Ngayon, gusto mong gawin na gaya na ni Vernel, yung demo mo. Pero ngayon naman, pupunta tayo sa next level. Gusto mong i-instruct lang si Vernel kung paano i-dribble ang bola without you demonstrating it. Paano mo gagawin?
Sir, hayaan ko siya, sir. Nagawin.
You provide verbal instruction, tama?
Yes, sir.
Okay, paano yung verbal instruction? Anong verbal instruction yung ibibigay mo kay Vernel? Hawakan mo ang bola. Paano hawakan ang bola? O sige, si Erica na lang mag-instruct kay Vernel. O sige, Erica, instruct mo si Vernel kung paano i-dribble ang bola.
So the first thing you need to do is to hold the ball with one hand.
Okay,
Sir. Ay!
One hand.
Sir. Then, hindi ko alam, sir, kung tama
Keep
siya.
the ball low.
Ano, Vernel?
Keep the ball low.
Keep the ball low. Okay, good. Tapos,
Extend your arm and snap your wrist to send the ball
Or
into
tapos
the
be
ground.
aware on the ball.
okay, good. So, yun ang instruct mo kay ano. Kapag hindi mo ginagawa, pero in-instruct mo lang si Vernel at nagagawa ni Vernel yun, anong stage yun?
Precision, sir.
Precision ba? May instruction.
Manipulation pala, sir.
Manipulation. Okay, very good. Ngayon, si Vernel ngayon ay kaya niya without the instruction, without instruction, verbal or visual instruction, kaya niya na mag-dribble ng bola. That is
Naturalization.
precision muna.
Precision, sir.
Precision. Okay. So we have imitation. After imitation, manipulation. After manipulation is precision. Tama? After manipulation is precision. Ngayon, the next one now is, okay, naisama na ni Vernel, okay, yung dribbling as a skill, kayang-kaya ni Vernel na mag-dribble na habang naglalakad o tumatakbo. Ano yan?
Articulation.
Kasi, di ba, ang dribbling pwedeng in place lang, tama?
Yes, sir.
Okay, pero nung nakaya ni Vernel na integrate yung dribbling into another skill in doing basketball, in playing basketball, that's already articulation. Okay. Kaya-kaya niya na. Pero ngayon, si Vernel, okay, every time na merong paliga ang barangay, lagi na siyang sumasali. Representative na siya ng kanyang purok, for example. Okay, ng kanyang street, for example. At sumasali na rin siya sa mga basketball competitions sa eskwelahan. Even naging atleta pa siya ng eskwelahan sa basketball. Ano na yon?
Naturalization, sir.
Naturalization. Klaro ba yun? Klaro? Klaro yung 5 level?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, dapat klaro sa inyo yan, lalo na PE majors kayo. Okay, pero hindi ibig sabihin na wala kayong cognitive domain. Tama? Dapat meron pa rin cognitive learning outcome. Because there has to be an input first, okay, an input sa head muna bago mapagalaw o makagawa ng galaw ang estudyante. Tama ako?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Sige. Sino mga ibang majors dito sa klase? May English majors yung iba, no?
Yes, sir.
Sa English, paano naman sa English? Writing essays, for example. Okay. So, dinemo mo sa mga estudyante mo na ang essay ay merong 3 bahagi. Tama ba ako? Meron 3 bahagi ang essay?
Yes, sir. The
Yes,
introduction,
sir.
the body,
Introduction,
and the
body, conclusion.
conclusion.
Okay, introduction.
Body, and conclusion.
And conclusion. Okay. So, dinemo mo sa kanya, ganito gumawa ng introduction, ng body, ng conclusion, and others. Ginaya ng estudyante. Siguro nagbigay ka lang siguro ng structure no meron mga blanks, and others para i-fill out lang ng mga estudyante. Okay, for example, a blank essay, tapos i-fill out lang estudyante, de-demo mo kung paano nila gagawin at nagawa nila, that is imitation. Okay. Binigyan mo sila ng written instruction on how to do the essay. At finalo nila yung written instruction mo, that is, anong level?
Manipulation, sir.
Then after that, okay, wala nang instruction, binigyan mo lang sila ng topic, gumawa sila ng essay, that is?
Precision.
Precision, sir.
Now, after precision, okay, yung essay nila ngayon ay dineliver nila in class. Aside from just really writing it, but they already delivered
Articulation.
Articulation. Essay, that is articulation. Okay, good. Ngayon, naging ano na yung bata? Naging member ng school organ, naging writer ng Inquirer, for example, guest writer, o kaya naging speaker and others. Ano na yon?
Naturalization, sir.
Okay? Klaro po ba yun ha? Yung 5 levels.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Marinela. Marinela?
Gets po, sir.
Okay na, sige. Sige. We continue. Punta na tayo ngayon sa next level. Tinuturo ba ito sa major ninyo?
Was, sir.
Hindi pa? Okay, sige. Now, we proceed now to affective taxonomy proposed by Krathwohl. Okay? Krathwohl and Bloom's affective taxonomy. Meron ding 5. There are 5. Receiving, the lowest level. Responding, valuing, organization, characterization by value. Okay. What do we mean by affective domain? When we say affective domain, it includes behaviors indicating one's subjective energies. And we say subjective energies, these are energies coming from within. Okay, coming from within. These are what we mean by subjective energies. And what includes subjective energies? We have attitudes, awareness, your attention, your concern, your interest, and your responsibility. And this is often assessed by ability to listen and respond in the environment and by attitudes and values appropriate for the field of study. So ano yung mga kakayahang pang-emosyonal, attitudinal skills that you need that has to be developed in you after learning a certain unit of study or after learning a certain course. Okay, so punta tayo sa receiving. The first level is receiving. Is the student aware of or responding to the environment? So receiving is concerned with simple awareness and selective attention. Example, listen attentively to badminton introduction. Okay. There has to be a response to what you are receiving. Okay? So responding to a certain action is under receiving. Listen attentively to badminton introduction is an example of under receiving. Okay, or listen attentively to the short story being read in class. That is under receiving. Okay. What is the attitude there? What is the behavior there? In the example outcome, listen attentively to badminton introduction.
Listen attentively. Listen attentively.
Listen attentively.
Listen attentively.
The behavior.
Listen.
Listen. What kind of behavior? What kind of behavior?
Attentive, sir.
Okay, good.
Attentively.
Attentiveness. Okay. Tama ba ako? May term ba na attentiveness? Tama ba? Meron bang term na attentiveness?
Yes, sir, meron.
Very good. Kasi minsan makakalimutin na rin ako. Okay, sige. Now, so klaro yung receiving. Okay? Now, we proceed to the next one, responding. Okay? Another example pala na receiving. Read a book passage about human rights. Okay? Read a book passage about human rights. Sabihin ng iba sa inyo, sir, ano yan? Tawag dyan? Sir, ano yan? Hindi yan affective domain. Psychomotor yan. Okay? Paano naging psychomotor? Kasi read, sir. No, it's still under affective domain. Okay? Why is it still under affective domain? Bakit under affective domain pa rin siya? Read a book passage. Yes.
Parang tawag dun yan.
Involves awareness, sir.
Okay, very good. That's right. Sino nagsabi nun? It involves awareness. Tama? Okay. Sino nagsabi nun?
Angela, sir.
Angela Tangan. Okay. Thank you, Angela. Okay. Now, we proceed to responding. Can the student show a new behavior due to an experience? Okay. For example, nakabasa na sila ng book passage about human rights. Nakinig na sila na maayos about introduction to badminton and others. Now, after doing this receiving level, Okay? Can they now show a new behavior out from the experience? Dun sa first level. It's concerned with interest, seeking, and enjoyment. So there's already a new behavior being done by the student out from the first level, out from doing the first level. So for example, voluntarily help set up badminton nets. Okay, voluntarily help set up badminton nets. That is, what is a new behavior?
Help. Charot.
Okay, help. Okay, anong klaseng help? Help ng
Voluntarily.
Okay, good. Meron ng initiative, tama? Okay. Ito.
Yes, sir.
Next, another example. Study another book about human rights.
Study.
Another book about human rights. Anong meron?
Interest.
Okay, good. There's already an interest. So hindi lang siya tumigil, pero nagbasa pa ng panibagong libro about human rights. So that is responding. Okay. Now we proceed to the next level, and that is valuing. So after this, okay, nakapagbasa na ako ng book passage about human rights. Aba, after that, sabihin niya, parang gusto ko pang ulit magbasa. Parang ganda ng binasa ko. Nagbasa ulit siya. That's under responding. Aba, nakinig ako ng mabuti doon sa sinabi ni teacher about badminton. Parang tulong nga ako kung paano mag-set up nung badminton nets. Anyway, narinig ko naman kung paano. Okay, that is under responding. Now, next is valuing. Does the student show involvement and commitment? Okay, kasi interest lang to. Pero, pag sinabi mo ng commitment and involvement, there's already a concern as regards the attitudes and appreciation of the student of what he is doing, of what she is doing. Okay? So after that, we have attend optional badminton match. Nag-attend na siya ng optional badminton match. Hindi mo naman siya pina-require, pero nag-attend ng badminton match. Kasi yung interest niya, okay, na-sustain niya dito sa level na ito. Na-appreciate niya na kung paano ang badminton. Okay? Or voluntarily attend a lecture, seminar on human rights. So nakapagbasa na ako panibagong libro. Aba, lalo naging interesado yung bata, nakita niya na yung value of reading, of learning about human rights. Mag-attend nga ako ng another lecture or seminar on human rights. Okay, that's under valuing. Okay? Next, organization. Has the student combined and conceptualized a new value, giving it priority? This is already concerned the development of a philosophy of life. Okay? Meron na siyang out from listening attentively to badminton lectures, about helping set badminton nets, about attending optional badminton match, out from reading a book passage about human rights, out from studying another book, and voluntarily attends lecture or seminar on human rights. The next level now is organization. Aban. Purchase a personal badminton racket. Okay? So parang parang sabi niya, it's already my priority to play badminton because I find it a good, for example, a good exercise, a good way to reduce weight, and blah, blah, blah. Okay? Let's purchase a personal badminton racket. Or, arrange a human rights rally. Diba? Itong filosofiya niya ngayon sa buhay. Dahil marami na siya natutunan about human rights. Kailangan igalang ang karapatang pantao. Okay? At kapag meron na siyang mga nakikita sa lipunan na hindi pantay, okay, ang pagbibigay ng kahalagahan sa karapatang pantao o merong mga paglabag sa karapatang pantao, nag-arrange na siya ng human rights rally. That's organization. And the highest level is, does the student act consistently with the new value? So parang, pag sabi sa characterization by value, parang it's already part of your daily life, of your daily routine. Okay? Ito, join intramurals to play badminton twice a week. Okay, there's already characterization by value, naging habit niya na. Okay, ang pag-a-attend ng badminton, ang pagsali ng badminton and others. And propose advocacy programs on human rights. Okay, nakapag-propose na siya ng mga programs, okay, to promote human rights. So these are Krathwohl's and Bloom's affective taxonomy. Okay? Sino sa inyo ang merong example na na-reach niya ng characterization by value? Sino ang mahilig mag-zumba dito? Sino mahilig mag-zumba? Yung parang naging parte na ng naging parte niya na ng daily routine niya ang sumali ng Zumba, whether face to face or online. Meron pa?
Sir Lori.
Si Lori. Lori daw. Ma'am Lolita. Lori. Naging nasa characterization by value level ka na ba doon sa pag-zumba mo?
Hindi, sir.
Sino dito yung meron ng parang naging parte na ng kanyang routine, naging bahagi na ng kanyang pang-araw-araw na buhay, yung isang skill, yung isang behavior, yung isang action? Ano yung jamming?
Ako, sir. Sir, mag-compose ng kanta.
Compose ng?
Kanta.
Compose ng kanta. Ano yung usual topics mo sa mga kanta mo?
Sir, usually po yung mga thoughts ko every time na nag-overthink ako, ganun po. And yung mga nararanasan ng mga ibang tao, ganun, sir.
Anong aspeto ng buhay?
Kahit ano, sir. Lately po ay may nagawa ako about like pagdayon and about rest, ganyan po.
Okay. So parang nakasanayan mo na nagsusulat ng mga awitin.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Paano na-develop yung hilig mo sa ganyang bagay?
Sir, nung first po kasi parang nag-start na ako sa mga words na madadali lang na ilagay sa kanta. Tapos nag-develop nung dire-diretso akong gumawa or nagkaroon ako ng interest po talaga sa composition.
Alamin natin yung pinakaunang dahilan dun sa first level tayo, dun sa receiving. Okay, sino yung nag-introduce sa iyo ng writing?
Sir, wala po. Nagka-interest lang po talaga.
How did you discover about it?
Sir, yung pag nakakarinig po ako ng songs na nakikita ko yung yes, sir, yung tapos po yung singer is sila din po yung composer, ganun.
Okay, so listening to a song of a singer-composer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's the first level. Tama? Receiving. Yes, okay, now after that, after you listen to a song being sung by a singer-composer, okay, anong ginawa mo next?
Nag-try ako, sir, na mag-compose.
Okay, you try to compose using ilang lines o ilang words?
Isang stanza lang, sir.
Isang stanza. Okay, that is under, may interest ka na, tama? That
yes,
is
sir.
under responding.
Responding, sir.
Okay, so after that, after you writing yung isang paragraph, ano yung sabi mo? Isang
stanza, sir.
Isang stanza of a song. After that, what did you do?
Ako, sir, diniretso ko po yung paggawa nung sa next na stanza niya or
okay,
yung
so ginawa mo na ngayon is, kinompleto mo na, okay, yung kanta, tama?
Yes, sir.
Nakabuo ka ng isa.
Yes, sir.
What level is that?
Valuing.
Okay, nandun na siya sa valuing. Okay, then after that,
na ako, sir, nag-integrate na ako nilagyan ko na po siya ng tono with the use of guitar.
Okay, nilagyan mo ng tono with the use of guitar and others. That's already the next level?
Organization.
Organization. Very good. Ngayon, lagi-lagi mo nang ginagawa, tama?
Yes, sir.
Nakailang kanta ka na?
Naka-10 and above na po, sir.
Okay, so saan ano na, so nakasampu na bag. O kasi ibig sabihin you already have characterization by value. Okay, pero saan na kinakanta yung mga awitin mo, yung mga kinompose mo?
Wala sir, sinesend ko lang po minsan kay Ira para pakinggan niya kung okay lang ba o hindi.
Sige, sample nga.
Ala sir!
Yung padayon, Jam.
Yung padayon, be. Gusto ko yun.
Wait lang.
Jam yung
Sir, wait
padayon.
lang.
Sige.
Magulo ka, Lori.
Bilisan
Magulo
si
ka.
Jams, padayon.
Sir, meron din daw si Lori, sir.
Ano si Lori? Magpe-perform ng Zumba?
Yes, sir. With
Yes,
daw
sir.
po, sir.
Sir, magaling
With
din po sa
equipment.
kumanta.
Kinakanta ni Jamie yung
Yes,
padayon, sinuzumba ni Lori.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Ganun po,
Sir,
sir.
pwede. Sir, wait lang.
Sige, Jamie, you show us.
I'll show you, sir.
You show us your skill.
Jam open cam.
Oy, bakit ako lang? Sir, dapat pati sila mag-open cam.
Open cam.
Go, Jam.
Mag-open cam din daw kayo, guys.
Mag-open cam daw yung mga iba.
For
Yung
the
mga malakas.
participation, go na, be. Para maka-perform na si
Ay,
Bakla.
yun na. Maybe you have to turn on your camera so that we can see your facial reactions while Jam is singing. Sige.
Nakakahiya.
Again.
Wait lang, sir.
Ay, ala. Hoy, Lori, magsumba ka.
Nakakatalog ka si Norbert.
Sir, mag-start na po ako.
Sige. Okay, maybe now listen to, papamute na yung mga iba. Maybe now listen to Jamie.
I've never been quite so sure of what I feel. I've never been so unsure of what's going on in my mind. But I'm not alone. I know, I just know that it's getting harder to breathe. It's getting the best of me. It's making me believe what I know isn't true. But it's making me feel alive. Even though I'm dead inside. 'Cause I know that without this I'd be nothing. But Dion, you make it through. But Dion, you make it through.
That's a nice song. What was your inspiration of writing that song, Jamie?
Actually, sir, nung sinulat ko po yun, sobrang pressured po ako sa ACADS again. And nagkaka-anxiety po ako ulit. Tapos po, saktong may nag-chat sa akin na parang hindi niya na rin daw po kayang i-control yung thoughts niya.
Mm-hmm.
So, sabi niya, pakanta naman, ganyan siya. And then, sir, I created the song. So, sabi, yung sa last niya po is Padayon, You'll Make It Go. I actually searched po the meaning of Padayon kasi baka mali ko mailagay. And it says kasi doon, sir, keep going. So, I inserted na lang yung word na yon. Kasi parang ang hirap din ngayong online class. So, let's just keep going kasi alam ko na we'll make it through. Ganun po, sir.
Yeah, I think while you were singing, Norbert was so amazed the way you sang the song.
Yes, sir. Nag-enjoy si Norbert, sir.
Enjoy si Norbert.
Yes, sir. Kitang-kita naman,
Ay,
sir.
compare may kamali.
Okay, sige. Thank you, Jamie. And
Thank you,
that
sir.
experience of Jamie about writing a song, okay, is already, it's actually the journey, okay, until Jamie reached that level of keep on writing songs or composing songs is actually an example of the complete levels of the affective domain. Okay, so thank you for attending our class for today's conference. At mukhang tahimik si Princess ngayong araw na ito dahil hindi siya nakapagbahagi. Allow me just to mention those students who have shared in our discussion because I may not have included your name if in case that you recited. Anog, Kaligiran, Malonga, Adukul, Taguba, Turingan, Soriano, Tangan, Aguliana, Manyo, Carino, Macarubo, Silva, Talosig, Bukayu, Formoso, Taginod, Malonga, and Soriano. Okay, so those are students who shared during our discourse or during our open forum. Okay, so again, thank you for making yourself available for today's discussion, and I hope you have learned something out from our discussion. I hope that a bit you have been clarified of the different levels under each domain of learning. Because by Monday, I'll open the weekly tasks, and I hope you could be able to do. Okay, you could be able to do the task perfectly. It will be a pair activity. Okay, so it's up to you to choose your pair mate in doing in completing the said weekly task. Okay, so again, thank you so much for your presence in today's video conference. May we now end our discussion then with a closing prayer. And because I miss listening to the voice of Erica, may we listen to Erica's leading us the closing prayer.
All together we say in the name of the Father, of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Father God, thank you for giving us the opportunity to meet, and thank you for giving us the chance to end this meeting successfully. May you guide us as we continue to learn about assessment of learning all through this semester. Father God, thank you for giving us the wisdom to understand the learnings, the knowledge, concepts that our teacher taught us. That's all. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Okay, thank you so much for
Amen.
attendance in this meeting. That's all.
Thank you, Sir
Bye.
Herbert.
Thank you, sir.
Bye,
Bye,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.
I